Grand Rising family, hello. Good morning. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. Check in. Grand Rising, a great rising, joyous rising, everybody. It's so good to see everybody here today. Come on in. I'll be brief today. I know I say that often, but I will be brief today. I just want to welcome everybody in on this Tuesday morning. You all know I always say that Tuesday is a great day for announcements. As a matter of fact, the people in power love to make huge announcements on Tuesdays. So I'm going to tell you about an announcement that went live today, which some of you probably know. But before that, I'm going to remind you all who may have missed it yesterday. Some of you saw my video that I put up. It was just a brief clip of President Donald Trump talking yesterday, but some of you may have missed it. An announcement that President Trump made on yesterday that I think just was the catalyst for the global financial prosperity that we've been looking for, the global currency reset. He set it in motion. Now, many of us know that he probably set that in motion when he rang the bell on December, what day did he make the ring the bell? The 12th. During the 12/12 portal, President Donald Trump actually made an announcement without speaking. So on December the 12th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, President Trump rang the bell that was the opening to the New York Stock Exchange, and he rang that bell 51 times. So it was at 9:30 a.m. 9 plus 3 equals 12, again on the 12th month and the 12th day. And we know that meant something. And we know he rang it 51 times to make an announcement and to drop codes. And we've discussed what we think those codes are. So that was the catalyst for real of this new golden era coming into our existence. But just in case you missed it, President Trump made an unexpected announcement on yesterday from Mar-a-Lago, and it just so happens that some of us caught it. So today is December the 17th. Happy 17th. 2024, and right now the time is 11:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but we started the podcast at 11. I think we started at 11:30 or 11:35, so this is now 11:38. Good morning. Keep checking in, family. Somebody said everything is down. What do you mean everything is down except Bitcoin? Are you talking about all of the coins? Oh, okay. Hello, family. Somebody says, thank you, Dr. Kia. You're welcome. I see North Carolina in the house. Hello, everybody. Grand Rising. Good morning. Joyous Rising. It's so good to see everybody checking in. So on yesterday, hello, Michigan, President-elect Donald Trump made an announcement that the golden age of America is here. So as you're checking in, I'm going to pull up that video for you all. It is also on my YouTube channel. Good day, my darling. Hello, Philadelphia. I see you in the house. Louisiana is in the house. Hi, Louisiana. Good morning. Peace and love, Sister Pamela. It's always good to see you. She's here from Georgia. Hello, Gigi. He says, good morning, everybody. Grand Rising. Anelda says, blessings to you for all of your hard work, Dr. Pruitt. Thank you. So I am so grateful for everybody that's here. Let me know what you mean by everything is down. Good morning. It's good to see you as well. Hi, is that Marge? Hi, good morning. Oh, the markets. Everything is down. Do you know when the markets are down and everything is down, you should buy low and sell high. That is an economic and a financial principle and an investment principle. Buy things when they are very, very low. And then if you want to sell, you sell high. So all the markets are down. Gold and silver, I noticed this morning, are down, but that's always a buying opportunity for you. I think XRP might be down just a little bit. XLM. Somebody says everything except for Bitcoin. Yes, yes. So this is the golden age, family. And let me show you, while you're checking in, this video where we captured President Donald Trump and his unexpected announcement from Mar-a-Lago. And then he took some questions too from the audience or people who happened to be there. Victorville, California is in the house. Good morning. I see you all on Instagram as well. Grand Rising family. I want to give you time to check in. Yes. Somebody said, I'm finally here. Awesome. Silver and gold are both down this morning. I noticed that. But again, it's a buying opportunity for you all before President Trump steps at the forefront as the official president. So perhaps we will have that inauguration on January the 20th. That's when we're supposed to have it, around the 20th of January, and perhaps not. We don't know. We don't know what they're planning to do. Are they going to bring him in earlier? I don't know, but he sure is working like he's the president already. And we know he's the commander in chief. So get your coffee, get your tea, family. I'm going to bring up this video for you. Salt Lake City's in the house. Hello. All right, here we go. Here's President Trump's announcement. Let me see if I can bring that for you all. I'll try to make the screen big. Oh, and my Instagram family can't see it, but I'll turn the camera around for you. Hold on. All right. It's just a brief, like 35-second clip of President Trump saying the golden age of America is here or has begun. Here you go. Let me see.
But this will be the most exciting and successful period of reform and renewal in all of American history, maybe of global history. The golden age of America, I call it. It's begun. So it's the golden age of America, and that's what it's going to be. And we hope we don't have any intervening problems, because things happen. Like out of nowhere came the China virus. Out of nowhere came other things we don't want to have. You know, when I left, we had no wars. We had no problems. The Middle East was good. We did the Abraham Accords. We did things that nobody thought were even possible.
All right. I'll play it one more time.
But this will be the most exciting and successful period of reform and renewal in all of American history, maybe of global history. The golden age of America, I call it. It's begun. So it's the golden age of America, and that's what it's going to be. And we hope we don't have any intervening problems, because things happen. Like out of nowhere came the China virus. Out of nowhere came other things we don't want to have. You know, when I left, we had no wars. We had no problems. The Middle East was good. We did the Abraham Accords. We did things that nobody thought were even possible.
So he said,
with you.
So after that, President Trump took some questions, after he made that announcement from people who happened to be there from the audience, mostly journalists that were there asking him questions. But you notice when he said the golden age of America has begun, he said, we hope nothing happens, because he knows that the deep state has a tendency to launch certain attacks whenever we are on a trajectory to having global peace and bringing in a new global gold-backed financial system. And he mentioned like the China virus. So the deep state is always or often trying to figure out or calculating what they could do to throw us off course. They like to launch black swan events. Some of us are wondering what those drones in the atmosphere are all over America now in certain key cities. Are those benevolent, extraterrestrial, or interdimensional beings that are here to help us? Or are some of those drones actually a part of the deep state? Now, we know that those drones are over military bases, so it would make sense that some of those drones could be spaceships or interdimensional beings that are making sure that the deep state doesn't launch nuclear attacks from those military bases. But on the other side of that is it could be that the deep state is trying to stage some type of invasion. Now they're calling it a drone invasion, and some people are saying, well, it looks like an alien invasion. I'm bringing that up because right now we have lots of reports coming in that these drones are being sighted over military bases, over Trump's one of Trump's golf courses and at key places that make people a little uncomfortable. And some people on the grounds are reporting that these drones are falling from the sky, and some of these drones allegedly are automobile sizes. So we're not exactly sure what they are, but we do know that the deep state will use something, even if it's benevolent, to cause people to be a little uncomfortable. So President Trump says we're on course, and he announced that the golden age for America is here. So that announcement came yesterday on the 16th, which made me look for what is happening, what will happen on today, the 17th. Okay, because the 17th day is always monumental, is always key, because we know about the 17th letter being Q. We know about the Q movement being a group of military intel or people who have a Q clearance, which allegedly is the highest clearance that you can get, who are dropping Qs since 2017 and 2018 about what was going on behind the scenes. And you had to kind of figure out what those codes and Qs meant. So that's why I told people in the beginning of this week on the 15th, I was like, everything has started today on the 15th, and we'll see this roll out. I said this whole week is going to be historical. You can go to my YouTube channel and my Rumble channel to see. I said this week is going to be historical. So I knew that something would happen since the 15th. And then the 16th, the 15th, which was the anniversary of the Bill of Rights. And then the 16th, I knew something would happen because the creator compelled me to write it down that it starts today. And I came and told you guys on the 15th and the 16th, it's starting. This historical week is starting. I had no idea Trump was going to do an unexpected announcement yesterday to say that the golden age for America has begun. So in that announcement, he says that we don't know what they plan to do. But when I was in office, he said we had world peace. We didn't have any wars. Everything was on task. We were doing well economically, and we had good relationships with people all over the globe. And then they launched that attack with the VIRUS he called it the China VIRUS. He also talked about the Abraham Accords, and that's something that I probably need to look into. I'm wondering if the Abraham Accords has to do with peace in the Middle East, with the government here arranging to have agreements and alliances with the Middle East, making sure that there was peace. So I did see that happening throughout the Trump administration, but a little later I can look into the Abraham Accords. And now that Biden was the fake president, we saw nothing but disharmony and chaos in the Middle East. So we'll look into more about what Trump was talking about when he spoke of the Abraham Accords, but let's get into, somebody said I'm changing colors. I know I keep changing colors. These last few days, I'll go from this mauve color, a peach color in the background, then it turn gold. When I say certain things, I just think that's pretty amazing. So what was announced on today for all of my XRP lovers and all of my Ripple fans is something very, very important. Let me show you something. This happened on the 17th. And even in my podcast on the 15th, I wrote it down. I said, it begins today. That's what I said on the 15th. I said it begins tomorrow, which was the 16th. That's what I said on the 15th. And I said, pay attention to the 17th because something important is going to happen on the 17th, since it's a Tuesday, and Tuesday is an announcement day for the elite. It's also allegedly a day of war. And what I mean by war, you got to look at who Tuesday was named after, which Greek god it was named after. But I said they always make announcements on Tuesdays, and it's the 17th, and it reminds us of the Q moving 17th letter. So this is what I found out about this announcement on today that came out. Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin launch on today. So this article actually came out yesterday, it looks like on December the 16th, but it was announced today that Ripple's RLUSD launches Tuesday following a massive XRP surge. So I know that these coins are down, and I think it's just a buying opportunity to go ahead and buy as much as you can if you're interested in buying or investing in such things and what they call digital assets or digital coins. Let's read this a little bit. The dollar-pegged Ripple USD, also known as It's also known as RLUSD, will begin trading Tuesday across Ethereum and XRP Ledger, Ripple said on Monday. Ripple will launch its US dollar peg stablecoin called Ripple USD, and that is the RLUSD on Tuesday, the company announced. Backed by the US dollar, US government bonds, and cash equivalents, Ripple said that the token will initially trade on platforms including MoonPay, Uphold, Bitcoin, Arcax, and CoinMina. RLUSD will be available across Ethereum and XRP Ledger, Ripple added. This anticipated launch follows a recent surge in the value of XRP, the token created by Ripple's co-founder that is used in the firm's payment services. Now, let me take a pause to say the first time I really looked into this RLUSD was when we had announcements of the dock workers closing. Remember when the dock workers went on strike? When the dock workers went on strike, they were saying that one of the reasons why the dock workers went on strike was, of course, they weren't getting enough money and said, some other things. They wanted more pay. They said that they were being exchanged out for robots and who else? AI technology. But one of the things that some people didn't catch was that some people were saying that people behind the scenes were saying, we don't want United States dollar payment anymore. We want payment in these coins that are backed. We want payment by this RLUSD. We want payment through this Ripple exchange. We want payment by way of XRP and XLM. That's the first time I really started digging into it because I haven't been into digital assets. I put a little money in it just in case. But when I started seeing that dock workers allegedly, not just the workers, but the people at the top were saying, we want payment and something that to them was a little more stable, like RLUSD. I said, oh, okay, they're about to make an announcement in the months to come. So let's get back to this article. Let's see, here it says, the anticipated launch follows a recent surge in the value of XRP, the token created by Ripple's co-founder that is used in the firm's payment services. XRP launched to a 7-year high price of $2.82 earlier this month. And it remains up by 122% over the last 30 days, a current price of $2.45 per data from Geico. And it talks a little bit more about what that means. It says, as Ripple USD offers stability and digital assets, the CD Valet provides a secure way to grow your savings, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to get out of that article because then there's another article that tells you a little bit more about what this RLUSD is, how it has to deal with different transactions. But before I leave this article, the last thing it says here is Ripple's USD is an enterprise-grade stablecoin built on trust, utility, and compliance. And that's what the dock workers at the top were saying that they wanted to be paid by. And I don't know if that went through, if they were successful, but I knew that, Ripple was about to make a huge announcement. So you guys can let me know what you think about that. Somebody says, I would bet a majority of Americans do not mess with Ripple. Maybe not. Maybe not. But I would say that a lot of people that I know of in this Patriot movement are invested in Ripple. So that's a good idea. That's a good statement, though. Keep letting me know, everybody, what you think about this. Yeah, oh, yeah, that was another thing we heard about why the dock workers went on strike was because they knew that they were hearing children scream from some of those containers in the dock, so at the port. So a lot was going on that made them or led them to the strike. So let me show you another article about this RLUSD stablecoin. This was an announcement for all you that are just joining that came out today, December the 17th on Tuesday, the day after President Trump made an unexpected announcement from Mar-a-Lago that said the golden age for America has begun. And I think that's why he was the one to ring the bell at the opening of the New York Stock Exchange on December the 12th, because ringing of the bells represent victory. It represents freedom. You can look at it any way: freedom from the deep state, freedom from the financial system that enslaved Americans, freedom from debt, victory over the deep state. And when you look up the ringing of the bells, it literally symbolizes victory, triumph, joy over your oppressor. So historically, celebrities would ring that bell that would open the New York Stock Exchange, but this time it was President Donald Trump, or President-elect Donald Trump. And I always assert that if he weren't the president, how is it that he's making such monumental moves? Even on last year, on December 5th, during the anniversary of the Bill of Rights, President Trump announced the Digital Bill of Rights, which said that everybody now would have to stop being censored on social media and mainstream media. And that's huge. Do you know how huge it is that he created this Digital Bill of Rights Act? I'm going to get back to this announcement. So on December the 15th, 2023, well, the 14th, he said, I'm going to make a major announcement. That came from his Truth Social on December the 14th, 2023. And then on the 15th, he made an announcement. And most people missed it. They were like, Dr. Pruitt, you lied. You said he was going to make this major announcement. He didn't make an announcement. Oh my gosh. Why do you keep doing this stuff? You spreading hopium. And I said, pay attention. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean it didn't happen. So I had to, you look at my video that I did yesterday, I put in the description section 2 videos that I did of his actual announcement. So on December the 14th, 2023, he said, I'm going to make a huge announcement. He said that on his Truth Social. Then on the 15th, he made an announcement that he was selling these Trump Superman cards, right? Why was he saying he's selling these Trump Superman cards? Because, they call him Superman. He calls himself Superman. And people were like, oh, that's not a big announcement. Who cares? But what a lot of people failed to see is that the first Superman movie actually came out on December the 15th. Okay. During the Bill of Rights anniversary. So the Bill of Rights was signed into law December the 15th, 1791. President Trump said on December the 14th, 2023, I'm going to make a huge announcement from Mar-a-Lago. I don't know who this is. Excuse me. Somebody just sent me and look, was that Mel? Mel, is that you? Call Frank McCartney. Okay. Looks like Mel is calling me. Mel Carmine, which we need to bring him on to talk to you guys about XRP for those who want to get invested and don't know what it means. So President Trump said on the 14th, I'm going to make an announcement. On the 15th, he made an announcement. He was selling these new Trump cards that were Superman cards. And a lot of people didn't know that the first Superman movie came out on December the 15th. And so then people came back and said, oh, Dr. Pruitt doesn't make so. What's the big deal? He's announcing these new Superman cards. And I said, you guys missed it. Later on in the day from Mar-a-Lago, President Trump announced that he was signing a bill that was called the Digital Bill of Rights Act. The Digital Bill of Rights Act said that President Trump would defund any entity that censored the people, mainstream media. He also talked about social media. Then he went on to talk about higher education and some government agencies that he would defund. He put that all in that bill. So I've done a deep dive into that. I did it last year, but I could do it again later on this year, since a lot of people are saying what they need to know, the significance of the Digital Bill of Rights Act. But a lot of people during censorship lost their businesses. Many people made money on the internet, but they were censored. You guys know this because mainstream media and the deep state would not allow you or not want you to talk about anything dealing with President Donald Trump. They wouldn't want you to talk about the election fraud that occurred in 2020 and 2022. They didn't want you to talk about the China virus. They didn't want you to talk about the global pandemic. They didn't want you to tell anybody about any natural remedies to anything that the deep state was doing to offset the virus or the poison that was in the water, poison that was in the air. Literally, you could not speak against anything that the deep state was doing to enslave us or to unalive us or depopulate the planet. So many people lost their businesses, they lost their channels, they lost their companies, And what the deep state would do was not only censor you, but take away all your money, empty out your accounts. I know because it happened to me. Then they would send people to the gang stalk you. Other businesses that were attached to your bank accounts all of a sudden would have fines and penalties put on them. So President Trump making this announcement that he signed the Digital Bill of Rights Act on December the 15th, which is the anniversary of the Bill of Rights, is amazing. It's huge. That's what he did on last year during this time. So this year during his time, what we saw is him ringing the bells at the beginning of the New York Stock Exchange, and we saw him announce that the golden age for America is here. So although all the coins seem to be down and the gold and silver prices are down, the gold price is still close to the new all-time high. Okay, so it's a buying opportunity for people who didn't know that they could get into this or didn't know about it to get into digital assets or digital coins and to get into the gold and silver space. This is an opportunity. So always look at things that may be negative from a positive perspective. If you can, look at what is the lesson I can learn and what is the opportunity for me and my family. So let's get back into this announcement that just came, that beginning today, what is it? RLUSD would go into effect. This came out. This is actually this particular article is on Ripple.com. It says, raising the standard for stablecoins, Ripple USD launches globally with unmatched utility, experience, and compliance. Ripple, the leading provider of digital assets infrastructure for financial institutions, today announced that Ripple USD or RLUSD will be available on global exchanges starting tomorrow, which is December the 17th. RLUSD is an enterprise-grade United States dollar-dominated stablecoin that's created with trust, utility, and compliance at its core, backed by Ripple's years of experience working with crypto and the existing financial system. Now, one of the things my son said when he and I were talking about this was, he was like, Mom, but it's still nothing. It's still in the air. You can't hold it. And I said, that's a good point. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. So you see here, it says that it's based on trust, utility, and compliance. So if people are buying into these stable coins and saying we're using this as money, then it's going to be money or a form of currency for people. And the reason people are excited about it is because it's decentralized. It's not owned, controlled, or regulated by the deep state. So what I would say, this is just Dr. Kia Pruitt talking, I don't have any certifications in financial advising. But what I would say is, if you're into stable coins, decentralized coins, why not get it now? And then once you are able to use it to buy silver and gold, just like you're using the greenbacks right now to buy silver, gold, land, and hard assets, you can use it to buy hard assets. So wait till everything's officially announced, then go ahead and buy hard assets with these coins if you decide to get into this type of investment. But there are many different investments, and I would just encourage you to look at several investments because you want to diversify. You never know what's going to increase in value. Things increase and decrease all the time, because the markets fluctuate. So December the 17th, RLUSD is an enterprising grade stablecoin that will go live. I'm getting all the kind of messages. Thank you so much for the messages. Thank you for the Cash App family. I appreciate you so much. URSLD will be initially available on Uphold, Bitso, MoonPay, ArcAX, ARCHAX, and CoinMena, with additional listings on platforms such as Bullish, Bitstamp, Mercado Bitcoin, Independence Reserve, Zero Hash, and others that are expected in the coming weeks. Each RLUSD token is backed fully by the United States dollar deposits. And I would say that, again, that the dock workers that went on strike were saying that they wanted to be paid in decentralized coins, of people that were doing those transactions, not the worker per se, but those that were doing the transactions wanted to be paid in this payment system because it was decentralized and not be paid any longer by the United States dollar. The United States government, okay, let's see. This coin is backed by USD, dollar deposits, United States government bonds, and cash equivalents. Ripple will publish monthly third-party attestations of RLUSD's reserve assets conducted by an independent firm. Early on, Ripple made a deliberate choice to launch our stablecoin under the New York DFS Limited Purpose Trust Company charter, widely regarded as the premier regulatory standard worldwide, according to Garlinghouse, which is Ripple's CEO. As the U.S. moves towards clearer regulations, we expect to see greater adaptation of stablecoins like RSULD. Now, what is RSULD and what does it do? What is the function of it? The title of the second part of the article says, a growing ecosystem supporting global adoption. Key RLUSD partners include leading global exchanges, market makers, and payment providers, which will drive adoption and usage across America, Asia Pacific, UK, and Middle Eastern regions. RLUSD is ideal for financial use cases and allows institutions to do the following. So again, RLUSD is ideal for financial uses, and it allows institutions to do these certain things. It allows institutions to facilitate instant settlement of cross-border transactions or cross-border payments. It allows access liquidity for remittance and treasury operations. Thirdly, it will seamlessly integrate with decentralized finance, which is DeFi protocols. Fourth, it is a reliable bridge between traditional fiat currencies and crypto ecosystems, ensuring a seamless and efficient transition when entering, on-ramping, or exiting, off-ramping the crypto space. I'll read that again. It's the fourth component. It's a reliably bridge between traditional fiat currencies and the crypto ecosystem, ensuring a seamless and efficient transition when entering or exiting the crypto space. And lastly, RLUSD provides collateralization for trading tokenization or tokenized real-world assets such as commodities, securities, and treasuries on chain. Early next year, the article goes on to say, Ripple Payments will use RLUSD to facilitate global payments on behalf of its enterprise customers. Ripple Payments has served $70 billion in payment volume and counting, and has near global coverage with 90 plus payout markets, which represents more than 90% coverage of the daily FX market. So basically, RLUSD went live today, and it went live in trading, and you'll be able to buy it from or invest in it from several payment platforms. RLUSD is available on both on the XRP Ledger and Ethereum blockchains, offering flexibility and scalability for a broad range of financial use cases. Then it goes on to talk about how they're raising the standard for stable coins, et cetera, et cetera. So that was the major announcement that I wanted to capture that had occurred on today, on December the 17th. And I'm sure more is to come, because as I said earlier in this week will be historical. As President Donald Trump said, and he said this after I made my announcement that this week is going to be historical. He said that the golden age for America has begun. Mary Yates says the resources on X all point to it being ready. I'd like to see some of you put on a show. Stop being ugly towards others. Oh, I don't know. Were people saying mean things? I missed it. Okay. I don't know what you guys are saying. Looks like some people have some things to say about some of the podcasters here. Tiger Shiva says, Dr. Kia, George Bush tortured Abu Ghraib. Oh, okay. Wow. All right. Somebody said that a podcaster is saying that currency can be cashed in today. I don't know. I personally am waiting for an official announcement. Tiger Shiva says Elon Musk is from South Africa, who Trump supports, and the media made a false statement saying that Trump called Haiti and African countries S-hole countries back in January 2018. So speaking of Africa, that leads me to my next point in the podcast. You're welcome. Sister Felicia, he says, thank you, Dr. Kia. Okay. Here is my next point in the podcast. I don't know if you all know it, that you know that BRICS is growing, right? So we're off how the golden age of America has begun, according to President Trump. We see a lot of, well, let me go back before I talk about Africa. We know that a lot of people are into cryptocurrencies. Thank you for the Cash App, Alan. God bless you. Deborah Allen, thank you so much. We know a lot of people now are looking for ways to decentralize and get away from the United States dollar. The BRICS Union, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, has been very, very open about dropping the United States dollar for trade. They added Saudi Arabia, then they became known as SALBRICS, and then all exporting nations silently, one by one, started to join BRICS, and BRICS became known as BRICS Plus. Well, here in America, Americans are like looking for ways to also decentralize. They don't want to be a part of the fiat dollar either, because the dollar is collapsing. And as the dollar collapses, we know gold and silver increases in value. That's a basic economic principle, that as fiat decrease in value, real assets, real money increases in value. So people that were in the know started getting into the gold and silver. Then you saw banks actually go into the gold and silver space for themselves and amass a lot of gold and silver. You saw countries do that. You saw people that were rich do that. And now everyday people that are in the know are taking their fiat dollars, which losing value because BRICS dropped the dollar, also losing value because of the global pandemic and other things, and because of all the money printing. So people started getting to the gold and silver space. But now people are saying, okay, let's look for another way to decentralize, to get away from the banks and to stop trading with the dollar. And so people have gotten into digital assets that are not a part of the banking system, is not a part of the elite. And so the decentralization of the monetary system is now something that's moving really, really quickly and is gaining steam. Another thing that's been going on is that people are they're just finding out ways to barter, to trade with each other, anything, so we don't have to do with the United States Federal Reserve banking system. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled, we'll get back to BRICS in a minute, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that state-sponsored banks could have their own charter. State-sponsored banks no longer have to be a part of the Federal Reserve central banking system. They have their own charter now. They make their own rules, and they are allowed to create their own and have their own gold-backed currencies. They're allowed to issue out their own gold-backed currencies. We're talking about state-sponsored banks. So state-sponsored banks can do that because, according to our republic, each state operates as a country. So when you hear people say the United States of America, you think of just states just being, different entities, different corporations or corporate entities. That was under the deep state. They are not corporate entities. Each state, according to our republic, has their own rules, their own lawmakers, as long as those laws are in accordance with the Constitution for our republic, because they are their own government. So that is why the Supreme Court was able to say each state-sponsored bank can now operate from or independently from the United States Federal Reserve central banking system. The central banking system was centralized. They controlled the money. They printed fiat dollars. But now state-sponsored banks can print and issue out their own gold-backed currencies. And something that came out too was that Basel III and Basel IV compliancy was something that each bank that wanted to stay online had to abide by. There were key factors to Basel III compliancy, and they all have to be compliant by January 2025. That compliancy includes two major things, many things, but two major things is that each bank has to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset and not a commodity. A commodity is like a trading card. A commodity can be taxed, a trading card, artifact, something like that. So the deep state had said that gold was a relic when we came off the gold standard, and that's what gave them the opportunity to tax gold. Well, now the rule is, and the law is, since gold is money, according to Article 1, Section 10 of our Constitution for our republic, gold is money. Gold and silver are the only thing that can be used to pay debts. So now that gold is now recognized as money again, since our republic has been restored, you saw states one by one repealing the state taxes from the sales of precious metals, or removing the state taxes from the sales of precious metals. When you do that, you're acknowledging gold and silver as money, and you're saying we're not allowing any more taxing of gold and silver because it's not a commodity. At the same time, the rule was that banks have to become Basel III and Basel compliant. They have to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset, meaning gold is now money. That's why you saw many banks amass records amount of gold in the last 2 and 3 years. And they had to be prepared to receive your tier 2 assets. The articles suggest that the reason why banks needed to make sure that they were ready to receive tier 2 assets is because your tier 2 assets, which are also known as foreign assets or foreign currencies, are what will keep banks afloat. These will prevent the banks from going bankrupt, and they will maintain the health of the banks. Your foreign currencies, they need your money, your foreign currencies that you're holding right now, your dinar, your dong, your Vietnamese dong, your Venezuelan currency, your Indonesian rupiah, your Indian rupee, whatever, your Zimbabweans, and whatever currency you're holding right now, they needed to maintain the health of the banks. So banks met globally to make sure the beginning of this year, in the middle of this year, they were ready to receive your assets. So banks had to be Basel I, Basel III compliant, meaning they had to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset. Number 2, they had to make sure that they could, thank you so much. Hi. They had to make sure they were ready to receive your assets, your tier 2 assets. Another component of Basel III and Basel IV compliancy is that they no longer could use their money to bail themselves in the event of some type of crisis. Another part of that is that these banks now had to be transparent and let you all know what they were doing with money, with your money, if you invested or put money in their banks. So now we're approaching January 2025. All banks have to be Basel III and Basel IV compliant, or they were closed. Additionally, what was going on behind the scenes is that a lot of these banking CEOs, corporate entities, were dealing with children, doing bad things to children, doing bad things like child hunting parties, doing things that were egregious, like participating in ritualistic abuse of children, offering children to Molech, passing them through the fire, heinous things that we don't even want to get into on this podcast that you all are hearing about, that was occurring in the deep underground military bases. That's why some of you, no matter how much you study, how many degrees you got, how good you were, how many licenses you have, you were not able to be a CEO of a bank, because unless you participated in these parties, these ritualistic abuses that were attached to secret societies, you were not going to advance. In banking, in corporations, in schools, in politics, in entertainment, no segment of society would you advance in unless you were a part of secret societies that had to deal with harming children, unaliving your family members as a ritual and a sacrifice. Okay, but a lot of these corporate entities and heads were doing that. This is why you saw banks collapsing. This is why you see entertainers going down. This is why athletes are no longer making money. This is why singers are no longer making money. This is why Hollywood is no longer making movies. This is why over 500 corporations at the beginning of last year filed for bankruptcy, and hundreds more that we don't even know about. Restaurant chains are filing for bankruptcy. CVS, pharmaceutical places are filing for bankruptcy because, number one, the pharmaceutical industry is going to end with the advent or the matriculation of med beds coming into our society and advancing technology to cure us from our ailments. Those things will be advancing. The technology that's been hidden from us is now coming online. This is why President Trump made that announcement yesterday that the golden age for America has begun. We're going to see a rollout of med beds. We're going to see a rollout of advanced technology. We're going to see a rollout of gold and silver. That's why they were setting the groundwork. This is why the last few years I was making announcements that said that we're going to see a gold being mined in places like Nevada, where they have been shut down. Mexico is about to be very, very wealthy because you have a lot of silver mines there that have been shut down when we all came off the gold and silver standard. All of these gold mines are about to open up. This is why rare earth minerals were discovered all of a sudden earlier this year. 2.34 billion metric tons of rare earth minerals were found here in America and Wyoming and that region. And there's more too that made America the number one country with rare earth minerals. That's why Trump said the golden age for America has begun. It has started for us, family. This is so exciting. So the banks had begun amassing historical amounts of gold to themselves in the last 2 or 3 years, records amount of gold. Not only banks, these banks that will be allowed to stay online, but countries. And on top of that, countries repatriated their gold from the Vatican back to themselves. Oh, the golden era, the golden age is here, not just for America, but for the whole world, which is why 209 nations participated in Project Sandman in that agreement to drop the United States dollar for trade and use their own local currencies for trade. Those local currencies will be backed by gold. Interestingly enough, I said as these countries use their own local currencies, it's going to be backed by silver and gold. And some people would say, no, that's not true, because they didn't know about this Project Sandman agreement of 209 nations. It literally said that when triggered, 209 nations would stop trading with the United States dollar. That trigger was Vladimir Putin. Remember, we talk about these entities, these government officials, the corporate entities, people high up, what they would do. That's part of secret societies. They would do bad things with children. They will launder money. They will launder drugs. They participated in African trade of Umenhays, an African trade of Ilgen trades. That's Pig Latin. Okay. So the trigger was Vladimir Putin going to Ukraine and uncovering what was going on with those deep underground military bases in Ukraine. And it just so happens that what was going on there was laundering, sacrificing, ritualistic abuse of children, trafficking, African trade of human haze. Okay, so the deep state was heavily involved and invested in Ukraine and in bed with the CCP. So when Vladimir Putin uncovered that, Biden put sanctions on him, and his ultimate clapback was to stop trading with the dollar. And that's why in 2022, he started using the Russian ruble, his currency, his own currency, and he backed it by gold and with his own military and said, come for me if you want to. I got something for you for that behind. There was no war. Nothing happened to Vladimir Putin when he stopped trading with the dollar. He knew that those formal agreements between America and Saudi Arabia, or not America, between the United States Incorporated, those bloodline families, and Saudi Arabia, he knew that those contracts will not be renewed. He knew that they, behind the scenes, they were over because he was prepared. He had been preparing for that. So what had made the United States dollar the world reserve currency was our agreement with Saudi Arabia, or the United States Incorporated agreement with Saudi Arabia. We'll protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for your oil, and we will force all exporting nations to only get oil from you, Saudi Arabia, and they must use the United States dollar to do that. That's what gave the United States dollar the world reserve currency status. That's what gave the United States the financial and economic hegemony, made them the powerhouse they were. That's what gave those bloodline families that usurped authority from our republic in America and your republic in whatever country that you are in. That's what gave them power to control it. Then they can just print as much fiat money as they could, the dollar that was backed by nothing, because they had also taken us off the gold standard. Well, Vladimir Putin said, I'm done with that. I'm going to uncover what's going on in Ukraine with Biden, the Biden crime family, and all these presidents that have come before me all over the world. I want to send some of that information to James Comer, who is the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, so that he can do more investigation into Biden, the Biden crime family. And I'm going to use that information to collapse the financial system all across the world. So in 2022, Vladimir Putin said, I'm going to clean out the deep underground military bases in Ukraine. I'm going to bring that back under my umbrella because that was the part of the Soviet Union before they had broken up anyway. It was his territory. He had every right to do that. And so the Russian ruble in 2022 became the strongest performing currency in the world. Then he, being from Russia, inspired the whole BRICS bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa to do the same, stop trading with the dollar. That in itself ended the contract between the United States Incorporated and Saudi Arabia, because now the dollar has been weakened and you have the BRICS bloc, which was now about 85% of the global population saying, we're done, we're finished. So then Vladimir Putin led Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa to follow his lead. That then inspired Saudi Arabia to join the BRICS bloc, and BRICS became known as Sao BRICS. Then I said, look, it's really over for the dollar. I knew it. Because Saudi Arabia again had that contract with the United States Incorporated that the United States Incorporated would force all nations to trade using a dollar, getting oil from Saudi Arabia. And if they didn't do it, then the United States Incorporated would put sanctions on them. Or they're going to force you to bend to their will. They'll put sanction on those countries, or they would just send war over to those countries. Now, the thing about that is it didn't bother rich people, because the United States Incorporated was funding both sides of the war. Anybody that tried to not trade with the dollar before Putin made this bold move, they would trade both. They would fund both sides of the war, and then people at the highest level of governments and military, and some of the celebrities and people who are part of secret societies at the highest level knew that when those countries were decimated through sanctions and or war, that their currency would devalue, that the GDP would go down, that their economy would collapse. So they would go into those countries, buy up those currencies that had done well before war and sanctions, buy up those currencies now that have been devalued, hold on to them. And then after the war, the United States would leave, but then come back to rebuild the infrastructure of those countries. All the games they play. Then they would rebuild the infrastructure of those countries, which would then make the GDP go up in value. And some of those currencies increase in value, or at least be reinstated back to its original value. And the people that have bought up those currencies, once they have been devalued through war, now with a new exchange rate, with the currencies going back up in value after the war and the infrastructure, now the sanctions being removed, now you can do business with them. Oh, the people who have bought those currencies that have been devalued through war and sanctions will go to the banks with a new exchange rate and become wealthy overnight. And we, the people, had no knowledge and no information of that. That's how a lot of people became multimillionaires and billionaires, and we were still struggling. But it's a new season. It's a new day. Okay? It's a new season. What's that Israel Huffman song? He's a what do you call it? Christian artist. It's a new season. It's a new day. A new anointing headed my way. A spirit of power and prosperity. It's a new season coming for me. It's a new season. It's the golden era. The golden age has begun. Because after Saudi Arabia joined BRICS, thank you so much for the super sticker. I love you. God bless you. Heaven smile on you. Thank you so much. After Saudi Arabia joined BRICS, then other nations joined BRICS, the BRICS bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, that stopped trading with the dollar. That's what happened. And now more than 85% of the global population is a part of this whole movement to use gold and silver for trade or their own currencies because for trade. And one of the things that Vladimir Putin did when he inspired the BRICS Union to stop trading with the dollar, it said, start using your own currencies and back it by metals, and I will have your back with my military and with China's military. This is why when Trump was reelected as the president-elect, you saw China come out, Xi Jinping come out, you saw President Trump, I just announced it yesterday, invite Xi Jinping to his inauguration in January. You saw Vladimir Putin said, I'm ready to do business with Trump. You saw people in the Middle East said, yay, these leaders were like, we're so happy Trump is back. Now we're going to do business with America and we're going to have peace in the Middle East. No more war. All because Vladimir Putin was that trigger. Thank you, Biden, for putting sanctions on him when he went to uncover what was going on in Ukraine. So Putin was the one who told these nations, start using your own currencies. He inspired the whole BRICS bloc to do the same. And then 3 key African nations, that's when we're going to go transition into Africa, said, you know what? We're done with America. We're done with Britain. And God, my goodness, we are done with France. So 3 African nations that I want to bring to your attention. I talked about this last year that stood up as soon as Putin said, stop trading with the United States dollar and stop allowing these monopolies and these elite people, these entities that are part of the United States dollar to control you. Burkina Faso, Mali. What else is the other nation? What's the other one, y'all? Burkina Faso, Mali. What's those France nations? Niger stood up and started trading with their own currency, and they expelled the French from their lands. They expelled the French from their lands and created their own military alliance. Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. And then other nations did the same. But do you know what happened when those 3 nations kicked France off of their land and created their own military? Nations, one by one, African nations started joining BRICS, but also ditching the United States dollar, ditching anything dealing with the euro currency, anything dealing with Europe, the European nations, and France actually hurt France. So again, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger stopped trading with the currency that they had been given, and they started using their own currencies backed by whatever resources they had in their country. And they formed their own military alliance. So this then hurt France's economy. Because if you recall, the French, as well as some other European nations, would use child labor to extract the resources from many African lands. Little children working in coal mines, resource mines, digging up silver and gold, digging up whatever cobalt and different things they use for the phones. Well, now that the French have been kicked off of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, and some other African nations that were colonized by the French are suffering globally, economically. So this hurting of France's government, France's economy, led to the ousting of the French, the prime minister of France. It led to the ousting of the prime minister of France and their whole administration. And now they're putting pressure on Macron to step down. And I read an article that said that he's going to concede today. This is December the 17th. I'll look at those articles in a minute. So once these nations had dispelled French from their land, France's economy began to collapse. And that led to budget disputes in France. and which then led to the ousting of France's Prime Minister, Michael Barnier, and his entire cabinet. And now the pressure is on Macron to step down. So he said, one of the last things he said earlier this month, like December the 5th, was, I'm not going anywhere because my term doesn't end to 2027. But I found another article that said he may be conceding today. That is the power of these nations binding together and saying we're not going to trade with the United States dollar. So kudos to Vladimir Putin. Somebody says, we just want the truth. Thank you, Kia. You're welcome. So let me show you those articles about Africa. So African nations are now joining BRICS. You saw many African nations that said that they were tired of these colonists using children to mine resources, which would then make their countries, the European or the colonized nations, become wealthy, but leaving the African nations poor. Keep checking in, family. I know you guys are ready for all this to just come on out. You're tired of hearing what's going to happen or what's happening behind the scenes. Here's one such article. It says, Emmanuel Macron vows not to step aside after the fall of the French government. President Macron says opposition parties chose chaos as Paris faces a deadlock after a vote of no confidence in Barnier. Trying to see when this was published. December 5th, like I said. Okay. French President Emmanuel Macron came out fighting against opposition parties who he said chose chaos by bringing down his premier in a historic no confidence vote, vowing not to step aside before the end of his term. That's what he's saying. Okay. So the government did what's called a no confidence vote, and they voted to get rid of the prime minister. I think I don't know if it's their prime minister of finance, but their prime minister, and they don't have any more confidence in him because the economy is collapsing in France due to key African nations kicking them off their land and using their own currency for trade. The mandate that you have entrusted to me democratically, Macron said, is a 5-year mandate. He's trying to Debo his way in the office to stay in office. And I'll exercise it fully until its end, Macron said on Thursday in his first public addressing following the ousting of Prime Minister Michael Barnier's government. My responsibility requires me to ensure the continuity of the state, the proper functioning of our institutions, the independence of our country. You're a liar because you're not independent if you are dependent upon Africa's resources. But he said, my responsibility requires me to ensure the continuity of the state, the proper functioning of our institutions, the independence of our country, and the protection of all of you. But the French people are tired of Macron, and Macron has to step down because he's part of the deep state. And one of the things that has to happen before Nassar and Jassara come online officially, the National Economic Security Reformation Act and the global version of that, the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act. One of the things that has to happen before those actually go live is that the whole deep state has to be dismantled all across the globe, or at least a huge significant amount of them have to be dismantled. Because if you leave them in power, you're welcome, self-love creator. Well, if you leave them in power, these people will continue to enslave us. And once our wealth is realized, for those of you that are invested in decentralized coins or invested in gold and silver, or you're going to get benefits from Nassar and Jassara, or you have foreign currencies, if those people were allowed to stay in place, then once you become wealthy, and any wealth that you have already will be stolen by the deep state, by these people, and they will just re-empower themselves. This is why they must come down. So Macron is hanging on by a string. He knows his time is up. If the prime minister has been taken down and his whole staff, he's next. Macron's term runs until 2027, but he's facing rising pressure from the opposition to step down early. He must now name a new head of government who will have to navigate the same deeply fractured parliament that brought down Barnier on a Wednesday night. Okay, so the president is struggling of France. He knows that it's over for them, honestly. No more can they extract the resources from African nations, which to me is good news. I love you more. Thank you. And he also knows that President Trump is not going to do business with him. They are looking for world peace. That's another part of Project Sandman, that 209 nations would behind the scenes agree to stop trading with the United States dollar and use their own currency for trade. And that currency will be backed by gold, silver, palladium, platinum, or any resources that those countries have. And the other part of that agreement is that they will have world peace. So that was Macron saying he won't step down, but I need to find the article that says he's going to concede. Before we do, let me show you this article. Thank you so much for the blessings, family. Uh-oh. Okay, it looks like my computer froze. Can you all hear me? Just take a minute. It freezes, but it'll come back. I know you can hear me on Instagram, but I don't think Facebook can hear me. Please let me know that you can still hear me. It looks like I'm frozen. Isn't that interesting how I often get censored when I'm trying to give information about the good news that's going on? Because we keep hearing all the bad news. We keep hearing the things that are going on that we don't want to know about, or that we need to know about, but things that will bring our vibrations down. Things that will keep us up. I'm back. You know, my computer froze and then I just went away. Everything went dark. I couldn't. I don't think you guys could hear me. I don't think you guys could hear me, but I kept talking and you guys couldn't hear me. So, oh well. Let's talk about the BRICS, what's going on in BRICS and how more African nations are joining BRICS. More countries are joining the BRICS bloc: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. This article was just published on the 15th, and it says BRICS dash or dot colon, more countries from Africa to join the alliance in 2025. One of the things that I want to note is by the time they tell you what's going to happen, it has already happened. They never tell you something, or they rarely tell you something as it is happening. They give you information little by little. Okay. According to this article, as 2025 is approaching, there are talks that are ongoing that more countries will join BRICS. Here it says talks are again ongoing about whether or not the BRICS alliance will decide to expand to more countries next year, which it has already happened because we already had that agreement between 209 nations to do so. So it has happened. Currently, the bloc holds 9 full members and several partner nations, they're saying, but I recall coming on in 2022 and letting you all know about a whole lot of nations that had officially joined, and I named them out one by one. But you know, these people lie. BRICS has spread its influence around the world, which is the truth, with more countries throughout 2024 showing interest in the alliance. One continent in particular where BRICS has spread its shadow is in Africa. So Africa is now becoming sovereign. Anytime a nation announces that they are using their own currency to trade, then you know that they're sovereign. Anytime, additionally, that a nation says that I'm creating gold, my own gold-backed currency, like Zimbabwe did with the Zim gold, you know that they're sovereign. They're either right on the precipice of becoming sovereign or they are sovereign, because the only way you can have the power, become empowered to create your own gold-backed currency, is that you are sovereign. You're not controlled anymore by these so-called elite government factions and government entities. My left hand is itching. Ooh, money coming. That's what they used to say. Also, you had Ghana saying that they were creating a gold coin. You had many nations saying that they either found gold, they repatriated gold back to themselves. One of those countries was Iraq. Or that they're printing money that is backed by gold, currency that's backed by gold, or they're only using gold for transactions. This past summer, the article says former Ethiopian Speaker of the House, Tashagger, revealed that all African countries are interested in joining BRICS. All African countries, see that? All African countries are interested in joining the Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South African bloc. While BRICS can't logically, according to this article, induct all 54 countries of Africa into the bloc, the arrival of a new BRICS organization and the start of the BRICS partnership group does open the door for more involvement in these countries. So it's not just the BRICS bloc that's not trading with the dollar and now using their own currencies and using gold and silver. I want to remind you that the Shanghai Corporation also is doing the same thing. They have partnered to no longer use the United States dollar and to use gold for trade. That's not in this article, but I brought that out to you all a few months ago, maybe 3 months ago, that the Shanghai Corporation is doing the same. China is one BRICS member that has already reportedly co-signed a new African nation to join the bloc in Zimbabwe. What's that song that Bob Marley sang of Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe, you talking about free Zimbabwe? Did y'all just read that for all of you that have Zimbabwe and Zims? China is one BRICS nation or member that has already reportedly co-signed a new African nation to join the bloc in Zimbabwe. Developing nations are finding the BRICS de-dollarization agenda lucrative, as the initiative can boost their native economies and local currencies. Boost their economies and their local currencies. So their currencies will be reinstated or revalued, family. That's my commentary. Once they drop this dollar. While many countries from Asia, South America, and Eastern Europe have expressed their interest in joining the BRICS alliance, African nations are putting in efforts to join too. One of the latest nations to join here, according to this next part of the article, is Kenya. With Ethiopia and Egypt being the latest African countries to join BRICS this year, Kenya's president, William Ruto, has also expressed an interest in joining the BRICS bloc, according to reports. Experts argue that BRICS is becoming increasingly attractive to African countries. This is because it is guided by principles of sovereign equality, inclusiveness, strategic cooperation, and multilateralism. In other words, family, we're going to see a golden era for the whole world. Everybody will be using gold and silver for trade, or they'll be using their currencies backed by gold and silver and other resources that these countries have, and these countries' currencies will then be one-to-one. Must I again reiterate that according to this article, Zimbabwe, which we already knew that they had expressed an interest in joining BRICS, but now they're signing contracts to do the same. And we see Ethiopia, Egypt, and Kenya, and other nations that other articles have talked about from Africa that have either joined or expressed an interest to join. Alash Satchu, a leading investment banker from Kenya, described BRICS as a lodestar for African nations. In particularly, every case it makes sense for these countries to join. In particularly, every case, he says, it makes sense to join the BRICS bloc. African countries need to dilute the influence of Bretton Woods. Remember the Bretton Woods Agreement? They need to dilute the influence of Bretton Woods institutions and escape the dollar stranglehold, he said. What do you think about this, family? By joining BRICS, increasing their bilateral trade and increasing settlements in local currencies, BRICS is a win for African countries. With a growing interest in both sides, BRICS may find a new hub of members in Africa if it decides to expand in 2025. And I will say when these countries join BRICS. So you said you can hear me? All right. So family, a lot is happening. A lot is going on. You're going to hear even more information and more wonderful news come out this week. I said it. I'm prophesying. I'm speaking it into existence. I'm foretelling it. But by now you can see it. I told you all just the other day, I prayed about it and I was talking to my higher self. And I said, when are people going to start to see things with their eyes? And the message came to me tomorrow. That was on the 14th. And I told you all, I wrote it down and I showed you. I said, this is what I just wrote down, because we were told when I was growing up that, thank you for the Cash App blessing. God bless you. I appreciate you. We were told when I was growing up, whenever you receive downloads or whenever the Spirit speaks up to you or whenever, however you say source, and you get a message, you should write it down. You should write it down so that you can go back and look at it and see those things as they come into fruition happen in your real time and in your reality. And oftentimes when you speak it or you write it down, you usher that in more quickly. So that's why I write things down, and I wrote it down and I actually showed you all. This is what the Most High showed me. And then on the 15th, that is when we saw, it was the Bill of Rights, the anniversary of the Bill of Rights. And some things happened on the 15th that I reported on the 15th. You have to go to my YouTube and Rumble channel to see it. And then on yesterday on the 16th, because the 15th commemorates the Bill of Rights, which was the first, which were 10 amendments guaranteeing us to certain key liberties like freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and the freedom to have our own, to bear arms, certain things like that. Those 10 amendments were actually ratified on December 15th, 1791. So December 15th is an important time. And that's why on December the 15th, 2023 of last year, President Donald Trump announced from Mar-a-Lago, wasn't even the president-elect at the time, that he was creating a bill called the Digital Bill of Rights Act. That means that mainstream media can no longer censor we the people. That's monumental, because when he makes these official announcements, for example, if he does an emergency broadcast system announcement, that he will be able to come on without mainstream media interrupting him. But there are ways for him to circumvent or work around mainstream media anyway. But they should not be able to interrupt him. In fact, they will be able to the people in control now that is in control of the Republic should be able to shut down mainstream media. So if an emergency broadcast system announcement comes on your computers, your radios, your cell phones, the president or the military will let us know what's been going on with the deep state taking over the voting processes, which would then, declare the Biden administration as null and void. Which at this juncture, I don't even know if they need to say that. Hopefully they will, and they will announce that the Brunson case has been decided in the Brunson brothers. But with that announcement will come an education process where we'll hear on our devices everything that's been going on behind the scenes. They say that this particular revolution will be televised, so you will probably even see some military tribunals. Hi, Jeffrey. It's good to see you. It's always good to see. He said just got off work. So, family, a lot is happening. What else has happening? We announced that this RLUSD is going live today on the 17th, but more information will come out. As I said, this week will be historical. We're going to see things that will come out that will make a lot of people extremely happy, and they will begin to see things with their own eyes. So a lot of times we've been saying it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Now it is happening as we move towards Christmas, the Christmas celebration or winter holidays. Jeffrey says, Dr. Kia, I need you to do a deep dive into the Venezuelan Bolivar. Okay, I can do that. Thank you for that. Dr. Kia, my family thinks I'm a nutcase with all of this, but when they wake up, I'll be a cheese queen. A cheese queen? Is it a cheese queen? That's funny. A lot of people just they don't know. And they do think that, we might just be a little bit loony or spreading hopium, people accuse me of. Not my family, but people do. But a lot of my family members, they just didn't know the information. So some of them would listen, some of them wouldn't. But it's okay because we're here and we're going to be the ones that's going to educate them. So I would like to say that the Creator, the Most High, your ancestors chose you and me to be in this community because they knew that we were good stewards over this information, and we are good stewards of our family members, and we'll be good stewards of the money that we're going to realize when our currencies revalue and when NESARA GESARA comes online, which will then free everybody from debt. All your credit card bills will be gone. They'll go away. All of your loans will go away during this debt jubilee, and you will not have to ever pay them. The credit system, as we know it now, the credit system will all go away. Taxes will go away. The IRS will go away. All of those government entities that they're calling government agencies, they are currently being dismantled, and that happened when the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine this summer. So the Chevron doctrine allowed these government agencies to come up with rules, statutes, codes, and policies at their will, anything to enslave us or to cause us to have to abide by, so that then if we didn't abide by, then we have to pay fines. So you have the IRS with the income taxes. You have HOAs, homeowners association, with making you pay all these exorbitant fees on top of your mortgage, which is crazy. And then they can dictate to you, even though you're paying allegedly to keep the place clean and safe, but they can tell you you can't have a certain amount of people in your house. They can tell you who you can have in your house. They can tell you what kind of music you can have. They can tell you that you can't plant food in your own yards. So a lot of the CPS was taking children out of the homes, which they should not have any authority to do so. They're not part of the Republic. They're not even a government agency. These are corporations. Corpse means dead. They're even dead corporations or entities that have their own DMB number, their own EIN number, just corporations. They're not even part of the Republic. FBI, CIA, EPA, all of these so-called government agencies. I have a list of 441 agencies for you all to look at. They will have to come down. They created themselves, and then they created rules, statutes, codes, and policies for us all to abide by. And if you said you weren't going to abide by them, they would imprison you or fine you. And if you challenge them in court, the judges would then defer back to those entities. That's why it went from Chevron doctrine to Chevron deference. The judges would defer back to them and say, they're the experts. You have to follow their rules and laws. So here's a fine. Or, hey, we got something better for you. We're going to lock you up and steal money from your trust. As I conduct this funeral service, judge coming in his all black robe and garb, because you're dead at sea and you're just a dead entity following the dead corpse orations rules. But the Supreme Court of the United States overturned all that and said any judge that deferred back to these corporations that were unconstitutional and that are, what did they say? They were unconstitutional and must be dismantled and treasonous. Any judge that deferred back to them are now guilty of treason, guilty of treason themselves. And any judge that knows of a judge that allowed that to happen, allowed the cases to be deferred back to these entities, if you allowed it, you've committed misprision of treason. And we all know that the penalty of treason is the freezing of assets, being judged through military tribunals, and the penalty for high treason is DEATH, being DEATH. So that is the Supreme Court ruling that came out from the Supreme Court of the United States this summer. So those 441 corporations that have now been found as treasonous and unconstitutional must be dismantled. Let's see if I have that. 444. Do I have those? Yes, I do. I'll show you the Federal Register of those nations right here. Family, thank you for 772 people being in the chat. We're not going to stay on much longer because people have to go to work and I don't want to take up all your time. You'll see those right here. I'm going to put them in the chat for you. And I will also put them in the description section. Here it is. 1 second, family. Let me put that on the chat. Yes, we need those med beds now. So family, here it is for you. Here are the federal agencies. They are listed in alphabetical order in the A's. You see Administrative Council of the United States, goes on Agriculture Department, all those departments that are under it, farm agencies, rural housing, rural business corporation. You see Air Quality National Commission, Armed Forces Retirement Home. Oh, look at all this. Here, then you see the C's, Commerce Department, Census Bureau, Economic Analysis Bureau, all the nations that come under there. Commission of Fine Arts. Look at all the C's. Excuse me. Then you have the Defense Department. Here are all the D's. And like I said, it's alphabetically organized. 441 so-called government entities that are, for the most part, and probably all of them are unconstitutional. And they have to go away. Hi Art Channel wants to know, does the wearing a blue tie and the gold tassel on the flag behind Donald Trump in that clip have any significance? Respects. You know, we've heard that the one Trump has red, one Trump has blue. One of them is nefarious, one of them is good. We know that the gold fringes on the flag still represents the United States Incorporated. However, the United States Incorporated is defunct, bankrupt, and unconstitutional. So that is a great, great question for you all to answer and for us to dive into. Thank you. Mariana says your channel's the best. Oh, thank you so very much. Thank you for answering that question, Sister Linda. She says the gold fringe on the flag stands for maritime law. In the future, the gold fringe will be removed. Yes, because we are now or have moved into the law of the land, common law, which is in accordance with the Constitution for our republic. I just sent you, I'll put it in the description section, the list of those illegitimate agencies. I put it in the chat, but I'll also put it in the description section of my YouTube channel and my Rumble channel. Hi, Coach Jay from Sacramento. I spent time in Sacramento. I love California with all my heart. I really do. Even though the deep state has been controlling it for a long time, I love the mountains. I love the air. I love the people. I love how multicultural it is, and it's so multicultural that I rarely saw so-called racism when doing business there. I rarely saw racism in the workplace, between a lot of, at least with my family members, because your boss would be literally could be of any ethnicity. Now the other side of that is that you have a lot of sanctuary cities there in California. With those sanctuary states, they allow a lot of illegal people to come into California and across our borders. A lot of illegal people and some people that did come lawfully that took control over many different businesses and entities in California and elsewhere. But I do like the multiculturalism in that people generally get along. You get to taste and experience different foods, different cultures. That part I do love about multiculturalism. No, I didn't see the video where Trump was talking to Pelosi and Schumer about ending the Fed, but we did see a representative to introduce the End the Fed Act earlier this year. All right. Someone says that when you see Trump in a red tie, he's speaking to the mother line. When in the blue tie, he is speaking to the father line. Thank you, Cesar Rich. Any other questions, family, before we get out of here? Because I want to respect your time. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Let's see. Let me go to the comment section. Oh, where can you get a list of those illegal entities? I put them in a chat. All right. You feel the same way about California. Your son is stationed in San Diego. Yeah, I love it. I love California. So, family, just to summarize, President Trump said the golden age for America has begun. He made that announcement from Mar-a-Lago, which was an unexpected announcement yesterday. Simply Land and Tops are saying banks are exchanging now, not showing on the Forex though, because it's BRICS. Your thoughts? I don't have any thoughts. I didn't know of anybody doing any exchanges. I do know some of the so-called whales. And I know a lot of times when, not the people you name, but a lot of times people say, oh, the whales have exchanged. I would just call them up. Say, have y'all exchanged yet? Nope, we haven't. Don't believe all the hope. It was what they told me from, or the hype from some of the people that are saying that. But the people that you mentioned, I have no idea. I have high regard for the podcasters that are affiliated with this process. I just haven't heard that they're exchanging now, but I can call one of the people that's a whale I've had on here. He happened to have written a book. I don't want to say his name, and told us about his information on the global currency reset and what the revaluation of currencies are. And when you read his book, it lets you see which countries' currencies you should be investing in. So I'll call them up and ask them, have you guys done an exchange yet? But and as far as your question, do I know about people exchanging? No, I don't. But I'm listening to that, and I appreciate you telling me that, because now that they're saying that, I would say get your currencies out. If you have some, write them down, categorize them. You want to organize them some kind of way just to make it easy as you go to the exchange center. And think about what your trust is going to look like. If you don't want to wait, you can go ahead and get a trust and put all your currencies in a trust and your assets in trust. If you do desire to wait, because we know we're going back to the Republic and common law and constitutional law, you should have some trust information that will be given to you at the wealth management centers. So you should think about what you want your trust to look like. Who do you want to be your beneficiaries? Your trust is the entity that controls and holds your assets, but you control the trust. So that is more important than a will. A trust is, I would say, I don't want to say it's more important than a will. It's more, it operates more effectively than a will, because a will just expresses your interests. but a will still has to go through probate. And there will be an attorney assigned. And then, probate takes time, and so it takes a while for your assets to be distributed. People can contest your will, which then would then hold up the process. And then you don't want, if people contest your will and things. Thank you so much for the Cash App blessing. Oh, wait a minute. So if people contest your assets and your your will, then it could get changed. An attorney or a judge might say, okay, we're going to change the way we want to change these assets. We want to control how these assets will be divided. So again, a will just expresses your interest. It can be contested. It's a lengthy process. And it doesn't ensure that your assets will be divided the way you want them to. A trust, on the other hand, is something that actually you control while you're living. Once you pass away, you will still be controlling your assets that are in the trust from the grave. So your trust will hold the assets. You are controlling the trust, and you have already determined how those assets are to be divided. And they have to be divided the way you say it. People can try to contest it all day long, but it stands, whatever's in the trust. Now, some people are opting to use a trust that is not under the jurisdiction of the United States Incorporated. That means that you have a foreign EIN, so the United States Incorporation does not control the trust. However, you're still talking about an EIN. So while you're in this current system, you can get a trust. It's because you'll then be able to change it to the lawful common law trust later. Or some people are opting to wait till we formally and officially return to constitutional law. So I would just say, while you're waiting, categorize your currencies, look at your assets, think about how you want to be divided. Either create the trust now or do an outline of what you want your trust to look like. Dr. Keel, the Wells Fargo Management Center here in Salisbury, North Carolina is acting weird, but they are still in preparation. They're still in preparation. Wow. Yes, some of them don't know about this exchange process, and then some of them just aren't telling us. I am so grateful for my mother, a wise woman like I am too, Sister Sheena says. And I got it from her. She was a woman that could see the future. Wow. But she said things are fixing to go down. I remember everything and everyone when it does. Thank you, sister. Yeah, we're going to remember all the people that took care of us, that loved us, that and even some of them that don't. We're going to take care of our family. We're going to take care of people in the very downtrodden areas of our own communities. It's important. We are concerned about the world, and we want to clean up their water and their air. I would say charity, that's what we were taught, begins at home. Take care of your family, take care of your community, take care of your city as well. And maybe even first, if you so please. Charity begins at home. So look in your local communities and help the homeless and help those that are hungry, because we don't know when Nasara Jasara are going to roll out. So if we exchange before, at least we will have the money to help people. And just think about the global economy collapsing. France's economy, I told you earlier in the podcast, is collapsing because the people in Africa kicked out the French. So once the people in Africa, like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger said, we want the French, we expelling the French from here, they expelled their army and kicked out all those companies, then the French government started suffering financially because they were dependent upon those African nations and other African nations and the children of those nations to get the resources for them. Well, France's economy is collapsing, which then led to the ousting of their prime minister and their whole government, whole administration, which now is putting pressure on Macron, the president. Oh, I know where I found that Macron will concede today. Let me see. It was a video. Hold on, family. I showed you all how Macron saying he's not going to leave, but I have a video that I found that where they said he's leaving today. I'm gonna put that in the description section for you. Here it is. 1 minute. So Africa is forcing France to suffer, and as other countries expel these colonists from their countries, a lot of European nations are going to suffer financially. And here in America, anything attached to the dollar very well could collapse, because if every nation is dropping the United States dollar for trade, that means the value of the dollar is going down, and which means that everything attached to the dollar will most likely collapse. And we've been hearing from billionaires such as Robert Kiyosaki, who's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and economists and financial analysts say that the dollar will collapse and that this is a pivotal moment. They said December 15th. And I told you that in my video that I did on the 15th and the 16th. There is a pivotal time period for the financial reset. Pivotal. So we're right here, family. Financial analysts have said this is a pivotal time period for a financial reset. And they have stated that anything attached to the dollar will collapse. The housing market, the automobile market, which is the automobile industry, that collapse actually started this summer. The automobile industry, the housing industry, what else? Some people say bonds. What else could collapse? The stock market could collapse unless Trump has a big plan to halt all of that. But if it does collapse, it makes sense, because anything attached to the dollar would collapse if the United States dollar, which is the fiat, not backed by anything, if in fact that collapses. Here is the YouTube video that says, breaking news: Africa makes France economy collapse and Macron is forced to concede today. So I showed you where he said he's not going anywhere to 2027, but this video here, the creator of this video highlights information and articles that say he is forced to concede right now. Shreveport is in the house, and I'll put all this in the description section for you. Got gas, got food, Sinbad says, got a car. You pay for any of that? Please tell me how. Macron has been dealt with, Jeffrey says. Thank you. Magda says, a few days ago, someone said Wells Fargo is changing their business to welcome centers. That's true. That's very true. I did a podcast on that over the summer. You don't have any sound? Can you guys hear me? So we must stand our ground. Absolutely. Sheena's intuitive reading says, and help others to see what's taking place right on their lands, right in front of their eyes. There's a great importance to read the color coding to ascertain which audience is being addressed, the blue tie or the red tie. Thank you. Good afternoon to you too, Rana. I'm sorry, Ron or Renee. Oh, it's your first live. You don't get notifications. Wow. I have 5 million Venezuelan Bolivar that I got for $34. Awesome, Jeffrey says. And you can get that. Somebody said from Banknote World. Bank of America does not have it up on the screens yet. Okay, you talked to them personally. Yeah, the deep state is losing, family. Donald Trump said the golden age for America has begun, and I'm going to go ahead and say that the golden age for the world has begun. He said it begins today. That's what he announced yesterday. SUM Project says, Dr. Kia, if my son misses too many days or is he late many times, they open a CPS case on my child. How should I handle that? I'm gonna tell you how I handled it when I wouldn't allow my grandchildren to take the shots, and the doctors and sent CPS to my door. I didn't answer. That's what I did. They sent the CPS workers banging on the door. They put notes on the door. They did all kind of foolishness. And this is why a lot of people that are in the know didn't sign a birth certificate contract, because when you sign a birth certificate contract as a mom, we, unbeknownst to us, were operating as an agent to turn over our children to the deep state, United States Incorporated. And then they would take their birth certificate, turn it into a bond, securitize it, and trade it on the New York Stock Exchange, where it was making money and earning interest, and they would attach it to a trust for the child that they never get to access. The child doesn't access, but anytime the child or any of us will have to pay a ticket, go to court, get a loan, get a mortgage, go student loan, credit card, whatever, and we owed them, these entities would steal money from our trust that was attached to our birth certificate bond. And they would force us to pay them with interest, because we didn't know if they're getting paid. They paid themselves off, and we're paying them as well. They get paid twice at least. But for those of us that didn't know any better, we signed a birth certificate, and now that gave the United States Incorporated jurisdiction over us as citizens, which means that you're not operating in your sovereignty status, which also means that you are sitting in sin, Chief Mack tells me. And it means that, what else? If you're a citizen, you're not operating your slave. So they feel that they have the right then to come and take your child away from you. So what I did is I didn't answer the door. They sent police officers, they sent agents, they did whatever they wanted to do. I did not answer the door. And then I made other moves that I will not say on live. But the thing about them is, if what they can do when your child returns to school is they can take your child from school. They're not supposed to do this, but until it's an official announcement made that these things have been overturned, they will either take your child from school or they will bring charges against you. So I hear what you're saying, and this is why there's a big movement for people to homeschool their children. And that's why in the state of Florida and many other states, our governor here took away a lot of money from the public school system that was issued out by the Department of Education, and he just redirected those funds, and he made sure at the state level we had enough of our own money at the state level that was not even attached to the United States Department to then fund private schools. And we have so much money at the private school level that the state has here in Florida that people who don't have a lot of money can access those grants so that their children can go to private school. So you see a decentralization from public schools. Public schools, government-funded schools, funded by the Department of Education, have the so-called authority. They've made themselves have the authority to take away your children through CPS channels, which is, as you know, a way to get your child to be trafficked through to families and institutions that could do nefarious things to your children. So you might want to consider homeschooling your child or looking for state funds that will enable you to send your child to a private school. And know that you have power and you're not lawfully, there's no constitutional law that says you have to give in to what CPS says, because CPS is not part of our republic. I cannot tell you what to do. I'm just telling you that there are options out there. So speaking of the United States Department of Education, it will go away. It's one of those entities that's a part of the United States Incorporated. United States Incorporated is bankrupt, insolvent, and defunct. So all those things attached to it will come down. A lot of states are removing themselves from the United States, the Department of Education. There are, in fact, saying that the Department of Education is unconstitutional. Tennessee did that. They said that the Department of Education was unconstitutional and that they're removing themselves from and they're rejecting the funds from the United States Department of Education. They said, we have our own money. We're not receiving any funds from the United States Department of Education. We can educate our own children. We do not want to participate in our standardized testing. And we don't believe in, what else did they say? Some of the curriculum that comes with it, with the Department of Education. We can create our own curriculum. Tennessee and many other states follow Tennessee's lead. So at the state level, you can make sure, put pressure on who's the lawmakers there, and you can actually become a lawmaker to change the laws in your state, because each state now will operate as a country for our republic. So the states are defunding the United States Department, rejecting the funds, using their own funds to educate their children. And you have states like Florida that are allocating funds not only for private schools, but for home schools as well. They're calling that school choice. You do not have to open a door for, I will not open a door for CPS. And what we had found when I was living in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, what's happening was the judge would just sign off on, like, whatever ruling, he would just sign it without even hearing the case. And the people in CPS would just take his signature on this form, fill it in. They already had the judge's signature on it because they were all in bed together. We got this blank form that the judge already signed. I can just fill it out, and then I can go to the home and snatch the kid. Legally, according to the United States Corporation, but not the Republic, snatch a child, put them through CPS fostering programs, and funnel those children to my friends, their friends, the social workers' friends. But you have a lot of benevolent, good social workers that really thought they were doing what was in the best interest of the children, because some parents just need to take parenting classes. Some parents need to help getting off drugs. Some parents just need to, you just need to find out why this child is missing school. Or some parents need to educate their own children, because it's not the business of the government to educate our children. I know we have to do what we have to do right now because many of us have to work, but I'm saying in the future, we need to take control of this problem. And when I was a foster parent, that I was an unofficial foster parent for the system. I just was the foster parent since I was 19, because I was married early at 18. People saw that I had a stable home. My husband bought me a house when he was 20. We had a 3-bedroom house. It was a fence. We had a good life, especially in the early part of our marriage. And so people in the community that could not take care of their children would be like, hey, the Lattimores, they can take care of the kids. And so I became a foster parent at 19. This is what you did back in the day. The community found homes that could take care of the children so that they wouldn't have to go through the system. And so I became a foster parent that way, taking care of children through my community and, through the church, and changed a lot of lives. A lot of children whose parents were on drugs came off drugs, because I was also in the church. I was a missionary and a minister. So I didn't believe in teaching people, hey, you need Jesus in your life, and then not help them. I'm like, you need the Creator in your life, but I am a tool of the Creator to help you to get off drugs. Our church is a tool to teach you how to parent. We're a tool to help you with counseling. So we had a whole counseling program as I became older in the church, that the Most High and the pastor allowed me to create. And whatever we couldn't create, I would take you out to the bigger churches that had counseling programs. And we would go there weekly and go through group counseling. And I would bring therapists or counselors in the church, financial advisors in the church, to help the people. Drug counselors, sexual assault advisors. We brought life coaches in. Then I became a life coach. And we had service in the church, and we had outdoor services that I coordinated, and health fairs. And these are and I was a foster parent since the time I was 19. But it got to the point where I would hear the children that had been passed through the system before they came to me. They were being raped by foster parents. They were being abused by foster parents. They were being manipulated. The system would divide the children, separate them, send them to various different houses, sometimes out of the state. It was horrendous. So there's so much that we can do, family, to keep our children out of that. Don't go along with the programs. Okay. I'm standing 10 toes down saying, don't go along with their programs. fight for your child. A lot of your children, the stuff they go through, by the time they get back to you, is egregious. And the foster parents, because remember, I did it for my community for years, decades before I became a part of the system, and said, okay, you know what, I will become a foster parent. But what I learned, well, first of all, they wouldn't pay me on time, because you do get an allotment, but the allotment is supposed to go to the child. So my children, they wouldn't. I'm like, why are y'all doing this to me, but you're not doing it to other people? The therapist would stop coming. I wasn't getting the vouchers on time. I wasn't getting the food money. So they would pay me money, but the money has to go back to the child. And so mind you, like my foster children, I would get them new clothes. I would get them presents. They would get books, resources, and then people in the community would donate to me because I was called Mama Kia in the community. I was a staple in my community wherever I moved. They wouldn't pay me on time. And then what they would say to me was, you got it. Like, you're our star person. You're taking whole families. I refuse to let children be divided. And I would fight for their counseling. And they would say, you got it. But when I got a master's, you got a master's degree. Then when I got a PhD, you got a PhD. You are able to counsel these children yourselves. And I'd be like, yeah, but I still need I need help outside, outsourcing. But then when I found out what some of these people were doing to these children, I was like, you know what? Never mind. I got it. So you cannot depend upon the money that you get from this system to raise the children, because it has to go back to the children. So I also maintained my job while I was fostering babies. But the stories you will hear about them being abused, it's too much. Don't let your child go through that torment. And then again, when I was trained to be a foster parent through the system, I was trained not to believe the children, because according to them, children lie because they're traumatized. So they would train, and of course I didn't do that, but a lot of foster parents can do whatever they want to these children, and then children complain. Who are they gonna tell? Because everybody's trained the children lie. And then what, they're gonna tell a judge? Because the judges are in cahoots with CPS, some of them. Who are they going to tell a teacher? The teacher is trained to, if you see a mark, if a child says something, they could have got spanked on the bottom of the leg. There's a mark, or the child is having problems in school, or child missed school. You have to call CPS. And these are good teachers and counselors that were just trained to do that, rather than dealing with the problem themselves, or bringing in the parent to say, what's going on? Can we help you? So I would say, do whatever you can to keep your children out of the system. Any advice for people trying to encourage Blacks to leave the United States? Sister Felicia says, I would say, if you want to go out the United States, you're free, you're sovereign, you can do what you desire. I've traveled outside the United States, but I would tell people classified as Black to know that you're not Black. Black is a legal standing in law that means you're a slave, you're dead, or you're slave and or dead, and that you have no standing in law. So you have to first know that you're not Black. You're sovereign, you're Aboriginal, you're original American. I would tell them, look up the 1828 Webster's definition of American, which is the copper-colored people found here by Christopher Columbus, but now applied to Europeans. 1828 Webster's definition of American. Most of them are Aboriginals, or the AB bloodline, or original from America. And I would tell them, but if that's not enough, I would encourage them to know that America is a great nation, to let them know that the corporations that left America are coming back. Those companies and factories, automobile industries that went out, that many of them went to China and abroad, they are coming back home. That's one of the promises of the Donald Trump president-elect. But even behind him, you have benevolent entities that are working to make America great again. Those companies are coming back. With NESARA and GESARA, we're going to have trillions of dollars that will be injected into the economy here in America and abroad. I would tell them this is the home of many of their ancestors. And I would tell them we're about to be a very wealthy country. And if they've been displaced from the work industry to let them know that a lot of illegal aliens that are here or unlawful people that are here will have to leave and go to their own countries to receive their GESARA benefits. That's a point of the GESARA law, the Global Economic Security Reformation Act. If you want your money that's going to come to you, because each of us will have that money, will have thousands and maybe even tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, every person across the globe into their quantum accounts. And you will be completely debt-free through NESARA and GESARA. Tell them about NESARA and GESARA. But in order to receive your funds, you have to be in your country of birth. So a lot of people that are here illegally, they will be able to go back home to receive their funds. So it'll be a win-win situation. And if you are classified as Black, but you're from America, you're going to have to be here in order to receive your benefits. I will also tell them that the Washita Empress Verdi Asi L. Gostin Turner Bay sued the United States Incorporated and said that the deep state stole the lands from the Aboriginal people here that are classified as Black. And she won her case in the amount of $85 quadrillion. And that money will come back to the indigenous peoples that are here on the land. So you have the Washita Empress that brought a case against the United States Incorporated. You have the farmers that brought a case against the United States Incorporated, and they won their case. So nobody that's American, whether you're classified as Black or classified as white, has to leave unless you desire to, because this nation will receive a lot of money once we go back to the gold standard, or we'll realize a lot of money. We already have a lot of wealth and resources. Once we go back to the gold standard and know that there's a King's World article that says that the whole world is rushing back towards gold and money. The whole world is hurtling back to gold as money. Know that more than 45 states here in America reclaim silver and gold as money. There are articles out there. I've done reports on that. The way they did that was by repealing or removing the state sales taxes from the sales of precious metals. So now we're going to be reclaiming and reusing silver and gold as money. So whether you're classified as Black, white, or whatever you classified as, if you're American, you will now be able to be recognized as a sovereign because our republic is being restored. We will have sovereign money coming back online. You will have benefits through NESARA and GESARA that you will be able to receive here if you're here on your lands. We have an example of that with the Guyana or Guyanese people. Guyana, South America, put out a statement, official statement, their president, that said all Guyanese or Guyanan people, nationals, would be able to receive $100,000, a one payment for right now amount of $100,000 into their account. The only things they have to do to get their money is to prove that they are a Guyanese national, not citizen, national. They have to be 21 or older, and they have to be in their country. So even Guyanese who are abroad can receive that money, but they have to come home to receive it. So they are showing the rest of the world how to realize NESARA and GESARA. And that's going to happen. This was an official announcement that came out from someone. Someone actually sent me that, told me about the information from Guyana, and then I dug up the articles. You can find it online that this is happening right now. And the last national, Guyanese national, will be paid out by the end of January of 2025. So I would encourage anybody that wants to leave America, that's from here, to look at their own nationality, to know that they're a national, look at their own bloodline, see that if you're classified as Black, you most likely came from here. I've told you about the 1828 Webster's definition of American. I told you about the case that the Washita Empress, thank you for the Cash App blessing, winning her case in an amount of $85 quadrillion. I've told you about the states reclaiming silver and gold as money here. I told you about states decentralizing or removing themselves from the banking system here, removing themselves from federal departments. I've told you that 441 so-called government agencies have been declared as treasonous and unconstitutional, that they're not government, they're not part of our republic, and they are being dismantled. I showed you the list of those 441 companies, agencies, and you can look up that the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine of Chevron deference. I ain't going nowhere. Nowhere. But if people desire to still go and, move abroad and invest abroad, of course, we might not be able to keep them from doing that because it's they're sovereign. They can do that. And that's another thing with all these 209 nations agreeing with world peace, is that we're going to eventually be able to travel anywhere we desire to go. So family, that's about it. I'm getting phone calls and all types of messages right now. I hope I answered most of your questions. Thank you all. Oh, I want to say quickly to all the people that gave me a Cash App, I promised that I would give you a shout out. I want to say thank you to Cameron for the Cash App blessing. Creator bless you. Sister Deidre, Dennis Perkins, thank you so much. Oh. I'm sorry. Sister Deidre, Chief Mac, thank you. You always take care of me weekly. Thank you. I love you so much. Sister Shirley Adonis, thank you so much. Sis Marcia, thank you. Sister Susan, Sister Linda, Sister Deborah, thank you for your Cash App blessing. I'm reading from my list here. Sister Linda, Brother Ronald, Brother David, Brother Byron, thank you so much. Sister Barbara Pittman, thank you. I see the names right here. Hold on, family. For the Cash App blessing. Who else? Joey Cox, thank you. Alexander Reams, thank you. Theo, thank you, Theo. You're amazing. I appreciate you so much. Theo Wofford, thank you. Oh, you sent me three Cash Apps. Thank you so much. Anybody that, if you appreciate my work and you're able to, or you desire to, you can send a Cash App blessing to my $ Mama Kia 13. That's $ MAKIA 13. Thank you, Sister Tawana. Thank you, Sister Norma. Thank you, Sister Francine, for the Cash App blessing. Thank you, MCH. Thank you, Sister Liana. Sister Liana Lee, Sister Renee Williams, Dennis Perkins again, God bless you. Bartolo Mullen, thank you. Infinity Income, I like that name, thank you. Kimberly Williams, thank you. Adam Jimenez, thank you. Deborah Allen again, thank you. Deidre Dukes, thank you. Brother Dennis again, thank you. And Chief Mac. Shirley Pleasant Bay, thank you. Wow. Marcia Daniel, thank you so much. Linda Tetrick, thank you. Deborah Allen again. Leah Whitmire, thank you so much. Ronald Wilkerson, thank you for the Cash App blessing. JFK Jr., also known as David Quigley, thank you so, brother. I love you so much, taking care of your sister. And by the way, you can support his channel. David Quigley is on YouTube as John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., and he has a book out called Stolen Identity about his life. You can find his book on Amazon for less than $20. Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate you, Glenn Snell. Leslie Green, thank you. My sister, Niteria, thank you. Gloria Jalil, thank you. Tristan, you're always coming through helping your sister. Thank you. And Dr. Pamela Hart, thank you, family. I love you all so much for all of the blessings, the money that you send, the prayers that you send, the encouraging email, letters, and messages. God bless you. Heaven smile on you is my prayer. I don't want to keep you on too much longer. It's been 2 hours and 7 minutes. Let's see if I have any other questions before we go off. I don't think I have any more questions. So family, things are happening. Let's go out with the video that President Donald Trump made when he gave this unexpected announcement from Mar-a-Lago on yesterday that the golden age for America begins today, he said. And then on today, we saw the RLUSD go live. It's trading now, and you're able to buy it or invest in it through which is associated with Ripple. It has to deal with transactions. I will send you articles or put articles in the description section for you that went live on today. And we also brought to your attention that silver and gold are down. All these coins are down right now, but this is a buying opportunity. You buy low and then you either sell high or you hodl, you hold on for dear life. We are about to see these currencies revalue and go live on the Forex and other exchanges very, very soon, according to what we know and according to what we've researched. So use this time when everything is low to buy, and you can either sell, they say buy low, sell high, or hold on. Now, if you're just getting into digital assets, please know these coins are, according to our information, decentralized. They're not being controlled by the government. They're decentralized. Somebody says, bye everyone, bye Gigi. So the thing is, people bring value to it because because they trust in it, but you don't hold it, you don't own it. That's why I would say, if you're in it and you make money, where your value, your assets increase, then use those coins or your fiat dollars even as a means to buy real hard assets, to buy silver and gold, to buy a house, to buy land, or any other hard assets that you are into. So Christmas is coming up, family. We hope that you all that celebrate Christmas have a very Merry Christmas. If you celebrate Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah. If you celebrate, there's a holiday that some African Americans keep. I've never kept it, but what is that holiday? African American winter holiday. Please forgive me for not knowing it. I just never kept it. Kwanzaa. Happy Kwanzaa if you keep Kwanzaa. Happy Feast of Lights if you are into lights and you understand and understand that many of these festivals just have to deal with what's going on in the atmosphere above us. As above, so below. Most people are just acknowledging that this is the time where there's the sun. We have the days are shorter, and they would put up trees and lights in order to entice the sun to come back. So whether you celebrate these holidays or not, it is winter time. It's the time to celebrate that the harvest is over for many people because it's cold outside. It's a time to keep warm, and it's just a time of love, family, and gathering. So I would say, family, stay encouraged, keep your vibrations high, and let's go out with this video that President Donald Trump said, whereby he made this announcement at Mar-a-Lago, saying that the golden era or the golden age for America has begun. Let me see if I can rewind that for you. And we also talked about how African nations are joining BRICS, and Zimbabwe was one of those African nations. So that's good news for those of you who are invested in the Zimbabwean Zim. Here it is, family. I'm going to show you this video, and it is on my channel, Dr. Kia Pruitt Official on YouTube. Here it is. You can listen to this article. I think that might be an ad up. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry about that, family. That's the wrong one. Okay. Here we go.
But this will be the most exciting and successful period of reform and renewal in all of American history, maybe of global history. The golden age of America, I call it. It's begun. So it's the golden age of America, and that's what it's going to be. And we hope we don't have any intervening problems, because things happen. Like out of nowhere came the China virus. Out of nowhere came other things we don't want to have. When I left, we had no wars. We had no problems. The Middle East was good. We did the Abraham Accords. We did things that nobody thought were even possible.
All right, family. Well, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast for the day. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt, and I hope I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Welcome to the Golden Age family. Take care and make this a great day. Bye-bye.